Fumbling to fit his bow, he waited for the instructor to give the command as a crowd of 7th graders gathered around him. Obviously, the word had spread, and fast, that he had taken the bet with Ryan Rivals, after all. Side-glancing, Clifton caught a pair of green eyes, then quickly looked away. Yep, even Ava Harrington was watching. "Ready?" the instructor said. Clifton wiped sweat from his stinging eyes. He knew his skill was better than most, but this arrow had him freaking out. That morning, for a split second, he swore the shaft had lit up, then gone out, like a flashlight turned on and off really fast. Seriously. He tried blowing the whole thing off, tried convincing himself his eyes were just playing tricks on him. But what if they weren't? What if there was really something special about this arrow? "Take aim," the instructor continued. Clifton pulled the notched arrow back to his ear and took aim. After 6 years studying archery at Wickham Park, he took the bet with Ryan without batting an eye, as his mother would say. His wager? The old arrow he found in the back of his closet that morning. The bet? A single shot test for precision, straight to the bullseye, or whoever came the closest. Clifton had no idea if this arrow would fly straight. He had somehow managed to pass it off as an antique. Very valuable, he had said. Ryan had wagered a sleek, emerald green, binary compound bow, which actually was very valuable. What a sucker. This arrow looked so brittle that if he breathed on it too hard, it might disintegrate into dust. The thing probably wouldn't even leave his bow, just snap in half when he released it, and splinter into tiny pieces. It had to be 1 billion years old. But what if? His arms quaked from the strain of holding them in place. Oh, why did he ever take that bet? Loose! On command, arrows arched through the air with all the precision of a flock of clumsy geese, landing on the targets or the wooden posts they were nailed to. Some struck the 3D target molded into a deer, which now resembled a porcupine. A few passed the targets altogether, landing out of sight in the tall grasses in the hilly sand dunes, the hinterland, as the students nicknamed it. And that's where Clifton's has disappeared. "Perfect," he said, throwing his bow to the ground. "What a piece of junk." "Archers, halt!" the instructor shouted, staring at his stopwatch and counting down the seconds. "The range is now cold. You may retrieve your arrows." Clifton stepped onto the range with the others, shaking his head. "What happened? You usually have perfect aim." He turned. It was Ava Harrington. Sure, they'd known each other since the 2nd grade, been in school together, soccer, even to each other's houses on playdates as kids. But something had changed between them when they left elementary school. Nothing either of them said. Actually, it was more about what wasn't being said. Clifton felt his hands turn clammy and his stomach flutter as if something was alive in there and trying to break out. "Hey, Ava," he said, hoping to sound cool and calm. Instead, his voice cracked, and she stifled a smile. He cleared his throat loudly. "Just trying out an old arrow. Must be broken or something." "Yeah, I heard." The sunlight caught her eyes, turning them an even brighter green than usual. His stomach fluttered again. "A few of us were talking about going to the mall after practice," she said with a smile, more fluttering. "Do you think maybe you'd want to come?" Clifton grinned. "Sure, Nice shot," Ryan said, shoving past him with a hard shoulder to his back. "Now go find my arrow and hand it over." He smirked as he pulled his own arrow from the red bullseye in the dead center of the target. Clifton looked at Ava, her smile nowhere to be found. "I can't believe you took that bet with Ryan." Clifton shrugged. "Like you said, I'm a good shot. Figured I didn't have anything to lose, especially not against a loser like him." "That's not very nice, Clifton," Ava said. "He's new. How would you feel moving to a new school in the middle of the year?" Clifton's nose crinkled as if he'd just smelled the mystery meatloaf in the school cafeteria. "He's a creep, Ava, no matter where we are in the school year." She shrugged, turning to leave. "You're the one who tried convincing him that your arrow was really something special when you knew it wasn't. Seems like maybe Ryan's not the one being the creep here." She glided away. Clifton lowered his head, defeated. He had lost the arrow, lost the compound bow, lost his dignity, and Ava thought he was a creep. Now he had to trudge through the hinterland looking for the ridiculous arrow that had started it all. But how was he supposed to know the thing would fly like a fuel-powered rocket ship? He swore under his breath and headed up the dune. Clifton searched the brush. All he found were bugs and sand spurs. Across the dunes, Juan Sanchez, another victim of inaccuracy, scanned the brush, face down, like Clifton was, hiding his own embarrassment and shame. Something sharp sunk into Clifton's ankle and he flinched. Great. He'd walked right through a patch of sand spurs. He picked them off, trying to avoid pricking his finger, but failed miserably. He kept moving, avoiding a red ant pile and a thick root jutting up like a step. Still no arrow. Up ahead, something protruded from the base of the tree. It had to be his arrow. What else could it be? He shuffled toward it. Out of the corner of his brown eyes, he noticed Juan picking up speed, heading in the same direction. Clifton moved faster. Juan matched him step for step. Clifton raced Juan to the tree, leaping over a burrow and swerving away from another sandspur patch. Juan reached the arrow first, yanking it from the exposed roots of an oak. It wasn't Clifton's. Juan smirked. I think yours went farther back, bro. That thing was like an unguided missile. Thanks for the recap, Clifton said, his bulging eyes staring down and away. Grumbling, Clifton trudged through the brush, now reaching his waist. It became quiet as he left the chatter of his classmates behind. The only sound came from his legs, slicing through the tall grasses like sickles as he searched for a mystery arrow, a what-if arrow. At first, he had thought it was one of his little brother's toys, but after examining the pointy diamond-like tip, he knew there was no way his mom would let his 2-year-old brother Pierce play with something so sharp or expensive-looking. Clifton had been told his great-grandpa was an excellent marksman, though he never had the chance to meet him. He had died before Clifton was born. Maybe this was one of his great-grandpa's arrows. Clifton's dad had alluded to passing down great-grandpa's archery set, which had been passed down to him and his father before him, once Clifton proved himself worthy of the responsibility, blah, 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 whatever that meant. He kept his head lowered. Leaves crunched as he stepped. Hidden bugs hiccuped in the brush. Then he caught a glimpse of something copper-colored. Whatever it was, it stood out against the browns and greens like a bully in a crowd of nerds. There you are, Clifton said, spreading the brush and revealing the copper-colored fletching. Were the feathers swaying? Nah, they couldn't be. There wasn't even a breeze. Then he remembered how the shaft had glowed in his bedroom. No way. This arrow was as plain as any other. And what did it matter anyway? It wasn't his anymore. He grabbed the arrow. As soon as he touched it, a wave of dizziness passed over him and a crack filled the air. Standing upright, Clifton turned to head back toward the range, but froze. He was suddenly in the middle of an open field, stretching for miles, covered in yellow flowers. Spinning in circles, he craned his neck to take in the mighty mountain range surrounding him. Low-lying clouds hid the high peaks from his view. The brush was completely gone, replaced with a shimmer in the air like heat off a highway. And with a sudden sweat, Clifton realized that Wickham Park was gone too. And chapter 2 is called Dwarfed. And that's where we meet our guide, Dane the Dwarf. Did I mention there were dwarves and giants and maybe a dragon?
No.
Maybe some mermaids in this book? Oh, I forgot to mention that. Well, it's all true. What'd you guys think? Did you like it? Yeah, good. Good. You loved it? Even better. Awesome. So, remember I told you guys that there's 2 princes in this book and we go back in history? Well, I did a lot of research for this book. Do you guys ever have to do research in your stories? Well, research is really important because you want your reader to make, they don't want to be reading your book and then be like, that's not true, right? Because then you'll lose your credibility as an author, and that's really important, unless it's fiction. And when you're world building, which is what I had to do a lot in this book because I was going back in time, I had to research and make sure that historically I had the right facts, and I had to read books on warfare and make sure that I was doing the tactics right, because there may or may not be a battle scene in the book somewhere if anyone likes battle scenes. Yes?
My brother does. What year does he go back in time to?
To 1485.
So England wasn't it wasn't the United Kingdom yet?
No, it was still just plain old So what, you guys know what happened around 1485? There's like a little poem that pops in my mind about a certain sailor. Yes?
The age of exploration.
Huh?
The age of exploration.
Yeah, so this is like almost around the time where Columbus discovers America. So there's some jokes and some references in the book because Clifton has today's knowledge, right? Imagine going back in time and knowing everything you know about today. So that was kind of fun to put in the book too. Do you guys have any questions about being an author, about the book, about my hair shampoo, anything?
What?
It's very shiny.
What type of shampoo do you use?
Well, it's blue and I get it from a hair salon and it smells pretty. Next question.
Wow.
Yes.
What hair salon?
I started writing when I was probably in about first or second grade. Really, really bad poetry. I used to read Shel Silverstein. You guys know who that is?
Oh yeah.
So I used to try and copy his poems and just, is he back here?
Yeah.
Here and here. So I would write really bad poems about like the foods I ate. I really did hate escargot, the taste of clam, and I just kept going on with weird foods. And I would on a typewriter. Do you guys know a typewriter?
Yes.
On my typewriter. And then as I got a little older, I started writing short stories about frogs. And there's one called The Taco that ate Silly Snyder. And it starts off with Once Upon a Time in a Taco Bell Far, Far Away. It's important. So I just started writing. Thank you.
My friend Gabriella, my friend Isabella, she likes Taco Bell, and my friend Isabella likes it. So my favorite designer had a book cover, and then I had a
Oh, cool. Yeah, these are, I make these like that using my book covers. So, yes.
Did you know that the letters were arranged on a typewriter because if the common letters were too close together, they would jam?
Really? Because you're pressing them too often?
I like this kid already.
See, that's a good fact that needs to go in the book someday. Yes.
Are your earrings from the drum?
From my book, yeah.
Yeah.
This is the dredge, the black
Yes,
one.
I
Yeah.
knew it. Seriously? I guessed it.
You can buy little earrings at a craft store, and then I just printed out my cover, cut it, and glued it on. Yes.
What does Clifton look like?
He kind of looks like that. He's got brown, messy hair. He kind of looks like Lucas did when he was younger. Have you guys seen Percy Jackson?
Yes.
Well, when I saw the preview for Percy Jackson, I was like, oh my God, that's Clifton Chase. So that's kind of how I've always imagined Clifton looking. Yes.
When's the next book coming out?
I have an agent for my next one. Do you guys know what an agent is?
Yes.
Okay. So this one I self-published. I had a small press pick it up, and it was a disaster, and then I ended up self-publishing it. My next book is with an agent, and it's about